Okay, going through my lessons, it looked like I did not post the notes for number 15, which is 4B, association and causation, and to be able to evaluate a function. So your first step on these is to read them. You have to read. Number 1, choose the option that correctly identifies the following situation as an example of association or causation and best justifies the identification. So, as the percentage of drivers who wear a seatbelt has increased over time, the number of car accidents has also increased. And so we ask ourselves, did the fact that you wore a seatbelt cause you to have an accident? And the answer is no, it didn't cause you to have the accident. You just have more accidents because we have more drivers. So it is not an example of a causation. So the situation exemplifies causation, which means it's not an example of causation. So A and B are marked out. So if you look at C and D, the first part of the sentence is the same. It exemplifies association. So there just happens at the same time. Doesn't mean it caused it to happen. Wearing a seatbelt does not cause a car accident. I agree with that. A seatbelt causes a car accident. And no, it doesn't. And that would be a causation. So the answer is C. So again, if you haven't done the notes, you ought to pause and read before you do them with me. Which situation best represents a causation? So the key word is best. So they might all be causations, but there's going to be one that's better than the others. So A, when there are more cold days at a ski resort, the amount of hot chocolate sold increases. Yeah, I agree with that. That's probably true. Also can be associated, but yeah, you probably sell more hot chocolate during the winter. When the length of a person's hair is shorter, the amount they spend on shampoo is less. You would think that'd be true, but you could buy very expensive shampoo and have short hair. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And then some men with short hair use a lot of shampoo and are wasteful. So again, association could cause it. C, when the temperature of the water decreases, the speed of the molecules also decrease. That is 100% true. And then when you heat the water up, the molecules start bouncing around and moving the hotter the water is. When the size of a fire in a city increases, the number of houses in that city increases. Well, as y'all know, when you have a fire, it doesn't magically pop out new houses. So D is definitely not it. So C is our best answer. Number 3, again, pause if you haven't done these. Read them yourself and see what you think. Which situation does not show a causation? That means 3 of them are going to cause it and 1 that doesn't. When there are fewer clouds in the sky, the number of UV rays reaching Earth's surface increases. And that's true. So I agree with that one. But we're looking for one that does not show. So the key on these is you're like, oh, that's a causation, and circle. But it's not. You're looking for one that's not a causation. When more leaves fall from a tree, the size of the leaf pile gets larger. That's semi-true. It'd have to magically fall into the pile. When a person works more years, the amount of money in a person's savings account will be higher. We all wish that was true, but that's not necessarily true. When a golfer plays more holes, the total score gets larger. And that's definitely true. So this one's true, this one's true, this one's true, and C is definitely not a fact. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you work a long time, it depends on your output. So if your output is more than your input, then you're always going to be in the hole. So C does not show a causation. Okay, number 4. We are using functions. So you have function notations. All this is, you have q sub 0 equals q sub x equals 0. So you're looking at the equation. Instead of q sub x, just type in y equals 0. That's your equation. Just like on number 5, instead of rx, you're going to do y equals negative 3/5 x plus 1. You're going to put that in your calculator. So in class, we did 2 different ways to do these problems. But number 4, if y equals 0, no matter what input you put in for x, your answer is going to be 0, because that's your only output. Your only output can be 0, and that's your horizontal line. So number 5, you are going to put the 10 in for x. So you can do negative 3 fifths using alpha x, open parentheses, 10, and then plus negative 1. You can leave the double signs. I personally would want to get rid of them. And so by hand, by calculator, you just type that in your main screen, press enter. It'll give it to you. 10 divided by 5. 5 goes into 5 one time, goes into 10 2 times. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. You can also go to y equals, type your equation in, and look for when x equals 10 and find your answer there. It'll be your y value. The second way that we learned how to do these is we use the store button. The store button on your TI-84 calculator is right above your plus sign. It's on the left-hand side. Let me grab one. Yeah, it's above the on button, and it says STO and an arrow, and that means store. So another way that you can do these, you can type in 4 and then hit the button. That is STO store, and no matter what the variable is, it's faster just to use X. So then if you put in on your main screen 2x, you're going to get 8, and if you don't, you've done something wrong. So, and what that does, you're able then to type your equation in x squared minus 5x plus 1 and press enter, and it'll pop out the answer, because what it's doing is putting 4 in for x. So let's do it by hand. So you have 4, and always put parentheses around your numbers when you are putting them inside of an equation. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does matter, you'll have it. So 4 squared is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20, and then plus 1. And again, you could have put that in your main screen also, and it'll give you your answer. 16 minus 20 is negative 4, plus 1 is negative 3. Okay. Number 7. And some, they're so easy that there would be no good reason to put them in the calculator. You can do them faster without. So putting in negative 3 in for x, so you have 1 times negative 3 is just negative 3. So it's just negative 3. Oops. Plus 1, which equals negative 2. Another easy one, and we'll use 8's equation, is m of 0. So m is 0, when you put 0 in a function, anything times 0 is gone. So for number 8, using that equation, this, oops, that's what I was looking for. This would be gone. This would be gone, and all we're left with is 3. So m of 0 would equal 3. Nope, 3. Okay, so for this one, when you do put a negative in, it's actually very important to put parentheses, unless you use the store. If you use the store feature, so -3 store x, and again, just use x as your variable, then press enter and you're done. It gives you your answer. Or go y equals, type this equation in, look for when x equals -3, and y will be the y value is your answer. By hand, and I'm going to do this below, so give me a little bit more room. So -3, and then -3 squared plus 2 times -3 plus 3. Again, at this point, you can put it in your calculator, press enter. So by hand, -3 squared, so negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 3 is 9. And then -3 times 9 is -27. 2 times -3 is -6 plus 3. And so the -6 and 3 turn into -3. When the signs are opposite, you add, and signs are opposite, you subtract and take the sign of a larger number, and then -27 plus -3 gives you -30. And that is our answer for number 8. Again, for those of you, if you do it by hand, I would check it by calculator, especially if it's a test. Number 3, which situation best represents association without causation? When a child gets taller, the child's shoe size gets larger. I think it causes that, but let's look at the other. And the key word is best. That's the tricky ones. When the water in the ocean gets deeper, the temperature of the water decreases. That's 100% a fact, because the farther the water is from the sun, the colder it is. That's definitely true. C, but we're looking for association. This one, that's a cause. When the radius of a circle is smaller, the area of the same circle is smaller. That's definitely a causation. And when there is more wind, the windmill will increase speed. That is definitely true. That is a causation, because the windmill causes the wind causes the windmill to spin. So, which one is best represents the association? I would say A. A is our answer. And again, I apologize for not getting this out. I thank you.